2464 Pod, Episode 4. He's Nick Fazekas. I am John Ramey. I have written a column that we'll publish today, Monday, January 13th, same day as we drop this pod. It'll be on nevadasportsnet.com. And I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. If you look on paper, the black and white reality of Nevada's win at Fresno State, Nick Fazekas, it's a double-digit conference road victory. That is objectively great, and it ended a 4-game losing streak. Also objectively great. It's the Wolfpack's first road win of the year. So am I being presumptive if I suggest that maybe those objective realities don't match exactly how we reacted to that game?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you're playing devil's advocate. I think you're playing angel's advocate there to the
Maybe, yeah.
Wolfpack. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of positives, right? I mean, you get a road win. Again, you win an overtime game, which the Pack has kind of struggled a little bit to win these close games. You know, like we said before, they had lost those 4 in a row by a grand total of 11 points. Fresno's not quite at the level of a New Mexico, obviously, but I think getting a win in overtime in a close game like that, of course, maybe we played a little bit down to the competition, but at the same time, maybe, like you said, maybe you are kind of overcoming a hurdle that has kind of been that hurdle that we haven't been able to get over yet. And again, first road win, that's something to hang your hat on. And winning a close game, I just feel like it's two things that really need to be accomplished in order to be a great team.
All right. So why were we texting at halftime in a less positive tone, right? I mean, spoiler alert, Nick and I text during the games. Yeah, I mean, the Pack was down 1 at halftime and had been down 12 and had battled to come back just to tie that game in the first half. So, yeah, you don't want to criticize an 11-point road win, but like that can't be happening. I mean, Fresno State's a net 271 team going into that game, right?
I totally agree with you. I mean, yeah, obviously we weren't texting about how great the Pack was playing. We were texting about like, good God, we're falling down. We're falling down even further than we thought. So, yeah, I mean, there was obviously call for concern there in the first half and kind of the way that the Pack was playing. And I mean, there's other things that you have to look at as well. That the way Steve has played some players that haven't even played this year, and he was kind of like really tinkering with rotations, and some guys were sitting longer than usual, and just things like that, where it feels like Steve is reaching just as much as you and I are texting about, sort of the concerns. So I'm sure Steve feels it. I'm sure the guys feel it and everything like that. But again, a win is a win. And, maybe there's some sort of things that got figured out in Fresno.
I think you mentioned the tinkering and Jariah Coleman being activated because he now, as I understand it, will have that junior college year not count against his eligibility because of recent rulings. So, yeah, he will not redshirt this year. He made his first appearance of the season. And the reason, and this is just my observation, I have not confirmed this with any of the coaches. Come to the coaches show tonight, 6 o'clock, Chickies and Pete's at the GSR. You can ask Coach Alford yourself. There just hasn't been great consistency. Like, for example, Tyler Rollison, who we love, TR, right, has played so well this year. He was kind of he was not as consistent as I think we would have liked him handling the ball down the stretch in that Fresno State game. And I also feel like there has been ebbs and flows of performance on the front line, and I feel like that may have inspired, and again, this is just my speculation, inspired the activation of Jariah Coleman on the front line just to kind of shore up maybe what we've seen from Brandon Love and KJ Himes. Is inconsistent too harsh an assessment?
I don't think it's too harsh at all. I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about as well. I mean, with TJ and just different guys, the fact that minutes are being cut and things like that. Like, I mean, again, I think you have to give Coach Alford a reason to put you in the game. I mean, you're trying to build his trust, and with TR and guys like that, like it's like maybe that trust isn't fully there. I mean, TR obviously didn't play against New Mexico, and then he comes in and he's playing crucial minutes against Fresno, and we're kind of like searching for an answer. And so it seems, Coach Alford's a bit confused as to who he can trust, and some of these players are making it even trickier to be able to trust them. But I think that's just what guys need to kind of, take the accountability with, is to understand that, like, I need to give Coach Alford a reason to put me in the game and understand when I'm going to go in the game, I'm going to get this accomplished night in and night out.
You and I had talked about how much we like Tyler Rollison or Daniel Foster running the point because it gets Kobe off the ball, and that kind of frees him up more offensively. I mean, the Kobe Sanders is at the heart of the affair as far as Nevada's offensive ceiling, and it's strange to me that there seems to be like a half, like 20 minutes, where he'll take 2 or 3 shots, and then in the second half he'll really look to score more. Now, I understand. I mean, you know how this is. You know, if you're going to be the main guy, you want to make sure other people are involved. But
Totally.
you also, you have to maybe impose your offensive will on the game earlier, just to kind of set the tone for the opposition's defense. Like, hey, you're going to have to deal with this because that can make things happen for other guys. Is that what you're seeing?
I mean, 100%. Yeah. I mean, of course, it's just like the bit of the inconsistent play of Kobe. You know what I mean? Like you said, like, it's not even about missing shots or shooting poor percentages or like, making mistakes. Some of it's just like, yeah, you're just going 10, 12, 14 minutes and you shoot the ball 2 times and you're literally touching the ball every single possession. I mean, you're the guy that they're throwing the ball into. And, I think it's fair to say that Kobe is, if not our best offensive player, he's right there, and so it's like, you're right. He does need to find a way to impose his will more. And he does need to find a way to not, maybe it's not take over games, but you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, obviously, like you said, impose his will to where it's like there's more of a focus on him. And now with his passing ability and his point guard ability, maybe it's like, okay, now we're going to pass the ball over here because this guy's got an open shot because I've been attacking, attacking, attacking. So it's like, it is a mentality that Kobe needs to kind of figure out in order for this pack team to go because I mean, we just kind of see it. Like when he gets moving and he gets going, the things
Oh,
really do start going the right direction.
the second half of Fresno State, and especially the overtime. I mean, and also they push the tempo. I like that. Nevada's been playing slow, but Coach Alford's like, play faster, get easier
Yeah.
baskets, get there.
Yeah.
And I felt, I haven't looked at the possession totals, but anecdotally or qualitatively, it seemed like they were pushing the tempo a little bit more against the Bulldogs. And I think we saw Kobe kind of in his flow state in that second half. And what did he finish with? He finished with 15 points. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, most of that in the second half, if memory serves.
Yeah. And I mean, again, playing a lot of basketball in my life, like playing fast is fun. It's fun for everybody. There's more shots, there's more possessions. There's a very small percentage of basketball players that just enjoy playing defense and go to the other end and just kind of like don't really care. Like most every basketball player wants to touch the ball, wants to shoot the ball. So it's like the more possessions, the more speed you play with, the more fun it is to play like that. Now, again, you got to have some guardrails with it because you can get out of, you can get off track pretty quickly where you're just speeding it up and it turns into turnovers and it turns into poor shots. And then the other team can pick up momentum pretty quickly. But, yeah, I mean, like you said, the pace kind of got picked up there against Fresno and it seemed that it worked to the Pack's advantage.
All right, I got to tell you, and I try not to be too I try not to be too critical on an individual basis. And if it's professional athletes, it's one thing, but these are college kids. I know that the lines are blurring. But are we being too focused on the individual? Is there more of a team component here that we're missing? Because I do feel a little over my skis in talking about guys specifically.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, of course, you're not trying to put pressure. You're not trying to talk, critically of guys. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's only 5 players that get to play. And like the guys that are taking the brunt of the minutes, those are the guys that are probably going to win and lose games for you. So critically could be probably a lot worse. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot worse things you could say. There's a lot better things you might be able to say. And it's like keeping it kind of even keel, but understanding that, you know what I mean? If you're going to pour in 30, 31, 32 minutes for a team, like you know what I mean? Like you're the kind of the head front of being labeled as, you know, whatever it's going to be. And so there's some team things that are going on. And yes, it's required to have a good bench. And, you know, you don't want to just be three or four guys deep, which I don't think the pack is. But, you know, definitely some accountability and responsibility that when you're going to pour in 30 plus minutes a game, you got to go out there and perform every single night.
Yeah, the other thing I wrote about after this Fresno State game, is Nevada's just a funny team. They're a little bit, they're a little enigmatic. You know, I think sometimes they see their shadow and they kind of forget how to play dominant basketball. And then, as what happened to Fresno, they remembered, they figured it out. You know, uh, have you ever been on a team like that?
I mean, I'll be honest, obviously, like there's been some times when I played overseas, especially for the last team that I played for in Japan. There was times where, yeah, you're just kind of like you're looking at the paper and you're just like on paper, it's like we should win this game like 10 out of 10 times, like on a paper, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you show up and you're down 12, just like the pack was, and you're kind of like, hold on, we just got hit in the mouth. Like, what happened here? And so, um, you know, things like that happen with teams like that. And I think it's just I don't know if you want to call it a learning curve or whatever, but it is a process. And again, I've said it before, you know, you don't want to be playing your best basketball in January. It's more important to play your best basketball in March, but there is criteria to get into that NCAA tournament if you don't win your conference tournament. So it's like you do have to play consistent basketball and you do need a body of work. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, it can happen to good teams where it's just like a process of trying to figure it out.
It's so funny. And, you know, of course, I had mentioned in the pregame before Fresno State, Nevada's, you know, next three games: Fresno State, San Jose State, Air Force, all at the Sunrise last Saturday, had yet to win a conference game. And, you know, San Jose State won on the road at Air Force. But there's nothing easy in conference. And, you know, I ought to know that. But it was just so tempting after the four losses to see, oh, three teams at the bottom of the standings. You know, maybe the pack can harvest some wins. And it's like, well, you can't start counting. You know, you gotta not be down by 12 in the first half to start.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like you said, it's a conference game. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Conference games are tough. Road games are even harder. I mean, it's the Mountain West Conference, you know, everyone in the Mountain West Conference. So it's a little bit of, you know, the parity is kind of there. So, yeah, going on the road is just always going to be a little bit trickier than to play at home. Um, I mean, shoot, I even look back at the Sweet 16 team. I mean, we didn't win a single conference road game that year. And it was
Really?
just like, didn't win a single conference road game that year. So, um, it's just like, you know what I mean? Like teams that can happen. And like, so to go get a road win like the pack and kind of figure it out. I mean, it's a big step in the right direction.
All right. I feel like we've been a little negative. That's not my vibe. I know it's not your vibe. It was a win, and I do want to point out it was tremendous that when Fresno State hit that no-brainer three in the corner at the horn to force overtime, Nevada comes out and wins the overtime 13-2. I thought that was as impressive a statement as maybe this team has made over 5 minutes this year.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, you know, you could kind of see the guys walking off. It was a little bit deflating. They had that game. I mean, it was down the stretch. It was a two possession game in favor of the pack. And then, you know, that guy forces up that three and it goes in. And that could be it could definitely be a time where a team could just be like, good God, we just can't like figure this out. Like we're just struggling to figure this out. And, the pack didn't, right? I mean, I watching the game and all of a sudden they're up seven and Fresno hasn't scored yet, and it's like, whoa, like this is different, you know. And so, um, that was a positive, and I think that is a positive. And like we said at the beginning, I think it's a positive to win an overtime game, to win a close game, even though the opponent might not be what we think the opponent is. But winning close games is what good teams do.
Awesome. All right. That's all I had. I think, we got Coach's show tonight with Coach Alford here in Reno, and then home game tomorrow night, Tuesday night against Air Force. So we'll know more. And then let's see, you're on the call a week from tomorrow on the 22nd at Utah, or the Wednesday, the 22nd at Utah State.
Yeah, I am going to do the Utah State. I'm looking forward to that. That's a fun environment. That's a heck of a place to play a basketball game.
Well, I'm excited to say we'll always have Logan. All right, he's Nick. I'm Ramey. 2464. Peace.